Down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled and liquid-powered show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings broadcast. I am excited. I am excited tonight because of the plain and simple fact that I have the best co-host ever to come onto the screen. He's going to share it with me. And the reason being is because this is the anniversary show of the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Hey, here we go. Happy anniversary. Woohoo. All right. So before I get started, though, I have a couple of things. First of all, this week has been pretty incredible, actually. I have a lot of things have happened this week. I mean, we've had, personally in my life, I've had not only an anniversary of the show, but I've also had an anniversary of my normal work. So that happens right around this week as well. I have a birthday during this week as well, and I've turned, unfortunately, half a century. So I'm supposed to be smart. Anyway, and the other thing is if you still have your mom around, if you still have your mom and you have a relationship with your mom, you really should think about her. My mom's birthday is today, and so I've got to give a shout out to Mom. I've got to say happy birthday, Mom. Hopefully she's watching. If she's not, well, she'll catch it on the recording. I got a wonderful gift from my co-host, and he sent me this, and I'm going to try and show it to you, but I have a feeling the green screen stuff's going to mess it up. But he sent me this bottle, and I've got to tell you, if you tuned in for the whiskey episode, the actual episode where I was talking about the whiskey, this was brought up. I am a Chivas Regal, dare I say, virgin. So what we are going to do tonight is I am going to open this bottle on the air, and I am going to try it for the very first time. Now, this is an incredible bottle. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's the 18-year, and it's the gold signature. So it is incredible, but and I'm very appreciative of that. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to this. My daughter decided that because of my age and everything, I'm now known as Old as Hell. I can't pull it off too much because if I go too close, it's gonna wash out. But anyway, so hello, my name is Old as Hell. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it straight because I like to experience everything without any kind of shall we say, mixes, and then deal with my mixing like ice and that kind of stuff afterward, depending upon how I like the taste, to try and get to the point where I appreciate the liquor in its proper format for me. But before I do, and before I bring in the true reason why everyone's here, and they can hear him laughing in the background. Yes, I do not have him muted. But before I go any further, I've got to do the requisite cake. So I like cheesecake, okay? I love New York style. So my wife went out and bought me this little cheesecake, this little minor cheesecake here. So let me see if I can do this. This is going to be kind of interesting. I'm going to have to light this while I'm on the air. Okay, there we go. So happy anniversary. And I did not try, but look at that glow. Oh my gosh. That looks better on the screen than it does in real life, people. So anyway, happy anniversary to the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Hopefully we'll be bringing you more shows. And I actually have, well, first, before I do that, let me make my wish here. Okay. So If the fire alarm goes off, you'll know why. Okay, so I'm actually working on next year's plan. I have in particular, I have a show that I've been thinking about doing for the past year. I've been a little hesitant to reach out because of the fact that I wasn't too sure in terms of being able to interview people on the air. Thankfully, my co-host has done a absolute spectacular job standing in and being able to be my guinea pig on this. So I have increased my my fortitude when it comes to interviewing people. So you will probably see some more interviews throughout the next year. I am also looking at doing a couple of other shows, potentially some, I to be honest with you, I don't want to get too far into it because I don't have a bunch of details yet, but I can tell you I'm looking to expand this. I'm looking to move this into the next realm. And toward that end, I need you, my watchers, to go to the Survey Monkey. They have there's a link in the description. If you could do me a favor, go to that link and just take a quick 6-question quiz and just kind of give me a little feedback as to how things are going after this past year. So I would appreciate that very much. So now, without any further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, the only one who is not afraid to dress up as a unicorn and still keep his composure and his clarity, his panache. This is my buddy, Captain Unicorn. How you doing tonight? Oh my goodness. What is
sorry,
that?
what? The Final Four is on. Gonzaga's playing. I'm obligated to watch. And
oh my
just went into overtime. Oh my God.
Just went into overtime? You have got to be kidding me. All right. Well, for those of you that don't know, I actually
the Tigers are going to win, so it's not a big deal.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not actually. Me personally, I am not into basketball.
Even if the Huskies were in it.
I'm sorry.
Even if the Huskies were in it.
Yeah, because I'm not really much of a Husky.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Beavers,
actually
okay,
no, not the Beavers either. No, I enjoy soccer more. So, and unfortunately, okay. So, hey, in our conversation when you and I met here not too long ago, when you and I met up last week, I think it was, or the week before.
2 weeks.
Yeah, so it's been 2 weeks. So when you and I met up, we actually had a conversation, and I told you that I was going to find this. So here's our first. Now, I haven't been able to figure out how to do the actual counter yet, but here is our first foray into, okay, the derailment train. All right. I'm sorry. I like my sports pure, and I don't like all of the political crap that they've brought in to it. So I have a hard time even watching like standard soccer anymore here in the U.S.
Yeah. What's a pure sport anymore?
Well, I guess at this point, I'll be honest with you. My dad liked to watch college football all the time, American football, not the kind that I like. But he would watch the college, and I asked him one time, I was like, why do you watch college versus pro? I go, the pros just seem to be so much better. He's like, the sport and the game itself is more pure at the college and amateur levels than it is in the NFL. And his belief, the professional players, when they sign a contract to basically start making money for playing a game, it changes the dynamic of the game. It changes the motivation for the player. It makes it to where the player's more worried about getting hurt because of their multi-million dollar year, whatever contracts. So they tend to not push themselves quite as hard, that kind of stuff. So for me, I kind of see that. I do, but at the same time, I'm kind of, I'm unfortunately, even some of like the college level and stuff has been questionable at best in some cases. And now they're looking to actually push paying people at the college level. So that's going to be,
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
yeah, that's going to be
I mean,
interesting.
they do work really hard and sacrifice a lot for the college, where the college makes all the money and the proceeds.
Right.
But their education is supposedly their reimbursement for the sports, right?
Right.
That's why they got the scholarship.
Yeah. Wow. My, my sound generator just went crazy. This is weird. Okay, so for whatever reason, we may not get the train sound back, but that's okay.
You broke the
We'll be
whistle.
fine. We'll be fine. I think we can work without it if it doesn't come back here. I'll keep giving it a shot here and there. Oh, there we go. Now it finally came back. So anyway, so that was our first derailment of the evening. Okay.
So now you gotta pop the top.
I do. I gotta pop the top. All right. So here it is, and you can verify. Well, wait a minute. I got to get it on screen here. You can verify the
I've got
seal.
one to celebrate with you.
Oh, yes, and the seal has not been broken. I know it looks a little weird, but
I've
it
had
hasn't
mine.
been. Okay. All right.
And for me, I only bought this one other time for another friend who had a birthday,
Right.
and we drank it straight, neat.
Yes.
And I had never tried it with ice. I find it's better neat.
It's better neat.
Yes.
Okay.
And for me.
All right. Well, I know that I've heard you've been. There's the cork. So we are now corkless. Corkless in Seattle. Ah. Sorry, I'm not in Seattle, but that's okay.
Oh, don't tell me you are.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell them where I am, but actually, I think I've already done that, so I might be screwed. Okay. All right. So now, my understanding is this is actually like a sipping whiskey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I got to keep it over the.
Well, you sip anyway, so.
I do. I sip. Ooh. A little bit got on the finger. All right. So here's to, hopefully, another year of the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Cheers.
And I know Addie's out there drinking also.
You know what? I have to admit, you've changed me. You've changed me. This is a scotch that I can drink. Okay. I have been.
I am a man of simple tastes.
Wow.
And I am a low bar to hurdle. All right. So if I like it, generally everybody's going to like it.
That actually, that's better than the double wood. That is much better than the. Oh, I like that. Wow. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That was.
Do you belong to a Whiskey of the Month club?
I don't, and I probably
Neither
should.
I just buy things and go, well, that's garbage.
Yeah.
I just wasted $30 for nothing. But
yeah,
we both should join up
should.
a whiskey fan club.
We should try and throw that. So I'm going to be honest with you. This is actually, it's very smooth. It definitely doesn't have, because again, most of the scotches that I've drank in the past, and actually I've been told by a lot of scotch drinkers, they're like, yeah, you're just not drinking the right one. But a lot of the scotches I've tried in the past, they taste like what I would imagine an ashtray with water would taste like. So, that being said, I think you've converted me. This is a very smooth, very light drinking scotch. It is and I obviously, when I poured it, it was a heavy bottle, so I got a little left on the coaster down here. But this is actually a blend. This isn't like a straight Scotch whiskey. This is a blended Scotch whiskey, which, if you remember, back on the last episode, a blend usually means that it's from different casks. So it's not all from like the same exact batch. Even though this is an 18-year-old, they aged it after they pulled it out of the casks, and that's why it's the blended part because they took it from different casks, not necessarily the same batch. But that tastes really, really good. This is good. I like it.
Good. Glad.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So I didn't really have much of a topic, but honestly, I mean, thinking about the year and thinking about everything that I've talked about, if you're a fan of the show, you'll know that I didn't necessarily bring in politics until right around voting time for the 2020 election. And there's a lot of reasons for that, to be honest with you, because I didn't really want to jump onto the bandwagon. Although, now, because I've done a couple of topics that have been political in nature, a lot of people would be like, well, you're just doing it just because your guy isn't in anymore. And well, okay, I could see where you could say that. I really do. But I would rip on him anyway, even if he screwed up and did whatever, I would rip on him too. So, now that I've sort of breached that barrier, I'm going to probably have a few more politic-ish kind of things. But one of the things that I am looking at well, I don't want to give away. I keep wanting to go to it and I don't want to give it away. So just expect to see a really cool guest that I'm going to interview in the very near future. Yeah, no, as much as I love you, my buddy, I'm not going to be able to do your expertise is in electrical, not in
and food.
And food, that's correct. I can't forget that, but not in the topic that I'm looking at. And it's a very serious topic. It actually is a very serious one. It's going to be, that particular episode is going to be a little heavy. I also am working on something. If my partner would ever get off his rear end and actually do something about it, and I'm hoping that he'll watch this video. If he doesn't, I'm going to be disappointed. But anyway, I'm also working on something else on the back end. We keep teasing it. Can't give away any details. I'm sworn to secrecy, NDA kind of thing for the moment. But look forward to something big coming soon. So anyway, from that. So look forward to that. Look forward to that as well. Plus, I'm sorry. Yes, I know it's very, very cryptic. I understand. It's unfortunately, like I said, I just can't talk about it just yet. We're right on the cusp. I've done my part.
You mentioned to me before, right?
Huh?
The person you have mentioned to me before?
Yes. Okay. Yep. So I'm right on the cusp. I mean, we are literally right on the cusp of getting this thing launched. If this gentleman would just get off his rear end and actually, I've been pinging him and hitting him and saying, TikTok, time, remind me of that. TikTok, got to get it going. And, yeah, I keep bugging him and eventually I'm sure he's going to tell me to just, kiss his rear end or whatever. Wouldn't put it past him for that. Okay. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to some more conversations, some more shows. We cannot ever forget. I hit 40 subscribers today. Yes, I hit 40. This is great. I love the fact that people come and subscribe. And if you are a fan of the show, you can help me out by going around and talking to some of your people. If you like what you see, if you like the broadcasts, let's go ahead and do that. Hit up that survey in the description so that you can maybe help shape a little bit more. I do have a couple of questions that are sort of open-ended. So whatever you want to say, just go ahead and type them in there and we'll move forward from that point. So anniversaries, anniversaries, birthdays, holidays make me think of the passing of time. So here's an interesting question for you, or an interesting perspective on this particular piece. Okay. We see a lot of things go in cycles. You look at the seasons are cyclical. The, even like being born and dying tends to be kind of cyclical. If you look at the way that our bodies, deteriorate, and then they become the next form of life, which feeds, whatever. So if you kind of go off of that, why is it that we as humans think of time as being linear and not
Because it
cyclical?
is.
Well, so let's think about this for just a second. I mean, let's suspend the element of disbelief here. We perceive it in a linear sense because of our, the Gregorian calendar, all of that stuff. But what if it actually isn't linear? What if it was cyclical and we just don't know how far down the circle we actually are to be back
So,
to what would be the
quantum
beginning?
leap kind of time.
Well,
If you go fast enough, you can end up at the beginning.
maybe. Well, I mean, first of all, so do you believe, let me ask you this, do you believe that time travel is possible?
I want to say yeah,
Okay.
but reality says it's too much like magic. But any sufficiently advanced technology would appear to be as magic to us. So
This is true. So, I mean, case in point, if someone were to watch this video 1,000 years ago, okay, they probably would be like amazed at what's going on.
mm,
So,
there's someone trapped in this mirror.
okay, I wasn't quite going there with that one, but that's cool. I like
Well,
that
they
idea.
don't know what a screen is, so they think they see glass, they think mirror.
Oh, I guess that's true. I didn't even think about that.
I
Huh.
don't know.
All right. Well, but in terms of time, I mean, we pace time based off of 365.25 days per year. Now, that is a very technical as to why I put it that way. And the reason being is because we add that leap year. Now, that is based off of our understanding as to how the earth revolves around the sun in terms of how long it takes. Okay. How they figured out the 0.25 back in the day, I have no idea. But it fell
I
along
don't
with
think
the
they did back in the day.
was what?
When's back in the day for you?
Well, I mean, the Gregorian calendar, which our calendars are based off of, were pretty darn close with leap years and stuff. I think.
Okay, I haven't done that research.
Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway. So we have time as itself. We look at it and well, here's the other thing. We pace time based off of a 24-hour clock, which is a cycle. But yet we think of the days as being a linear kind of a scenario. It's just
we can't perceive time as anything else.
Okay. You know what? I can go with that. All right. So let me ask you this. So, obviously I had a celebration year of my birth. Okay. Kind of thing. So what about the whole concept of, average lifespans? Cause I've been kind of teasing the kids here recently that, I'm not going to be around much longer. I'm on the downhill slide. I'm on the backside. Now, that being said, my mother is still alive. So go figure. I mean, she's kicking. She can even kick my ass in some things. Don't tell her that. But that being said, we don't know how long we're actually going to be here.
No.
So
Would you want to know?
Well, that's a good question. Would I want to know? Would I want to know? Well, it's really kind of tough because I've seen some celebrities and some people who have come out and talked about how they have, some terminal disease, whether it's cancer or something like that. And there's a Tim McGraw song as an example. It's Live Like You Were Dying as an example. I think there's a lot of people who look at things like that. But, for the average person going through life, they're not. Are we really focusing on what we need to be focusing on? I mean, family and stuff like that. We're pursuing money and things like that. So are we really focusing? I mean, maybe that's a lifestyle choice, I could imagine. I mean, that's a lifestyle choice for you, but we don't know how long we have.
Right.
So I guess in a way it's like figuring out what your priorities are and what you want to be, what you want to do, who do you want to be around, that kind of thing. And then we have our principal things that we have to get. Like we have to do money. We have to get, we have to get food. We have to do that kind of stuff. So I guess in some cases it's a balance of responsibility with our priorities and that kind of stuff. But I do want to say the one thing that I do think that is really important for a lot of people is to make sure you talk to the ones that you care about, because you never know when you're not going to have them around anymore.
I need to call my dad more. I call my mom once a week because she's in town.
Right.
I don't call my dad that often. I need to do that.
Okay. I mean,
you're gonna make me think, dude.
I know that's sometimes. Hey, when I drink, I think. Okay, that's the tagline. Which, by the way, I need to figure out how to get that into the logo for the show. I got to figure out how to do that. I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, nobody even really knows that tagline. Oh, wait a minute. I was supposed to do this because we were going off topic. Anyway, so yes, I am going to make you think. I'm going to try to make you think anyway. So we're sipping this great Chivas Regal. I don't even know if they pronounce it that way. I mean, it's Scotch. Hello. Shouldn't they pronounce it something, I don't know, Gaelic?
Haggis Regal.
I would love to go to Scotland and Ireland. I think that would be pretty cool. Is to go there someday. But anyway, so 1 year. So what, okay, let's think about this past year. You've been a fan and a co-host and everything else. Let's think about this past year. What was your favorite topic that I did? I know. I'm putting you on the spot.
I was on.
Say what?
Anything I was a part of.
Well, I'm going to tell you, looking back at the reviews, you are definitely popular, or at least the topics that we did were fairly popular back and forth.
That might be the thing. Because when you do the ones on your own, they tend to be a little deeper, heavier subjects.
Yeah.
A little more polarizing. So when we're together, that it's the food episodes, it's the holiday episode, it's light and fluffy. Like me. I'm heavy and fluffy. So
okay. Ooh, all right, we're not going to go there. Because I'm not that light myself.
It's just a unicorn, means nothing.
No, actually, okay. So let me ask you. We kind of talked a little bit about your unicorn thing. I mean, dare I even say it's like an obsession with you?
Because it's unexpected.
Yeah, totally.
You don't expect someone like me to be into unicorns. I mean, it was a passing fancy. Unicorns are pretty. I like them. But then my boss shared a video of someone with a snowblower,
right,
in that exact outfit, snowblowing.
Huh.
I have to get that. I have to do that.
Yeah.
And $50 later, I did it.
Yeah. Well, obviously it attracted attention because when I came to visit, you had the neighbor kid come over and take photos.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Actually, his mom looked a little bit like a unicorn too. Her hair was certainly colorful. But anyway, so what? But why unicorns? Why not something else? Any ideas?
No. It was something shiny in front of me, I guess. I don't know. And I like to subvert expectations.
Was that a Gollum reference? Oh, precious. The shiny precious.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm not that big a nerd.
Okay, apparently I am. Thanks for that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've watched Lord of the Rings. I haven't read the books.
You know? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so we're up to 4 now. So that one,
You gotta get that counter up there sometime.
I'm trying to figure out how to do it in such a way that it will be automatic to where every time I make the sound, it goes ahead and flips the counter. I got to figure out how to do that with like auto hotkeys or something on the keyboard. Cause right now I'm pressing the number 7, lucky number 7 to get the horn. So, and I did go through a couple different versions to get that horn, by the way. Just thought I'd let you know. So what the hell were we talking about? I got lost. Do you remember? Lord of the Rings.
What worked? What I think my best. Words are hard. My favorite episode of last year.
Yes. Actually looking at the scoreboard, like I said, my most popular videos, the ones that you are in are definitely up there. Most of them. I won't say because it only shows like the top 5 or something like that, I think. But I know that most of them are up there, most of the ones that you're in. So that being said, you and I need to have a conversation offline about moving forward. Yes, I know. Isn't that scary? About the moving forward. I know that's a big thing. It's a big ask. It's a big responsibility, but it doesn't have to be, obviously the burden's going to be on me, but anyway. All right. So moving on. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll put that together. So what about anniversaries for you? What was your favorite anniversary with your wife, as an example?
One of the most memorable anniversaries. See, this should have been done on the Valentine's Day show.
Yeah, I know, but I'm thinking of anniversaries now, and I'm thinking of
The
anyway.
most memorable anniversary was right after our second son was born.
Okay.
He was born September 11th. And we made jokes about that at the time. Oh, wouldn't it be horrible if he was born on 9/11?
Actually, one of my son's friends was.
Anyway, so it was a cesarean section.
Bad question, but did you watch that?
I was in the room. I was filming it.
Oh, seriously? There is no way in hell.
video
I'm sorry.
lost.
I got sick. Well, I won't say sick, but I got like not violently ill or physically ill, but when they showed the thing in birthing class, I was like, there's no way. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot this. Okay. I mean, when I was in birthing class, I couldn't even imagine.
No, because I cannot stand seeing a video of it.
Yeah.
Of the
but
gore.
yet you taped it.
But in person, I was fine. I can handle it in person. I don't know why.
Okay, well, just like your unicorn thing, I think you're weird.
Or my love for my wife overcame the grossness.
I will have to admit, going through 2 natural births, I agree. I mean, I agree. I couldn't. I had such a time. I thought I thought, watching the videos and everything, I thought I was like, oh my God, this is so disgusting. What in the hell am I going to do? But at the moment of the birth, it changed everything, because then it was fascinating for some strange reason. It's like, oh my gosh. And then the whole, cutting the umbilical cord kind of thing.
Okay, back to my story.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh my God, so rude.
Yeah, well,
Okay, it was that birth. He was born on the 11th.
Uh-huh.
Our anniversary is September 19th.
You had to think about that for a second.
Yes, 19th.
he's waiting for Addie to say something in the back. That's great.
Because I always
Oh
want to
my
say the 18th for some reason. I don't know why. Because it's a even number. So 19 is an odd number. It's
Okay.
a thing. Shut up.
Uh,
Anyway, she was in the
yeah.
hospital for almost 2 weeks, wasn't it? 6 days. Okay, whatever. 1 week. Shut up. That was 16 years ago.
Oh, come on. You'd think you'd remember this.
And so she's a little better. Back at home, I'm at work,
Uh-huh.
and it was like the 13th or 14th.
Right.
I mean, no, it was the 20th or something like that. 23rd.
21st.
Fine. 21st.
I don't know if anybody can hear this
It
in the
doesn't matter.
stream, but she.
Anyway, my wife calls me up and says, "Do you know what we forgot?" I'm thinking, "No, what? Our anniversary." Oh, son of a... But at least we both forgot together. So no one is at fault. We both forgot because of what was going on. Like, oops.
You know, I have to admit we had a moment like that too. I think, if I recall correctly, and she'll probably come flying in the room here if she hears me talking about it. But anyway, I think we had one where we totally missed it. And so here's another thing. I mean, for her, in terms of anniversaries, yeah, he's going to take care of his dog that's not a dog.
I heard that.
Yeah, I know you heard it. I meant it just for you. But anyway, actually I meant it for your wife as well, and she'll hear it in just a moment anyway. But we had a moment like that too. We just kind of looked at each other and we're like, "Oh, wait a minute. It's our anniversary." So, if we tend to forget them, then are they really all that important?
No, they're important.
Oh,
Right, honey?
oh Lord, I tossed that out there. Huh. Oh, I'm sure she'll let us know in the chat if she doesn't like it. Anyway. Wow. Okay, so anniversaries are definitely important, and we will never ever miss any of them anymore,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, the most
Yes.
important thing
Okay.
next to the
Yes.
burdens of our children.
Husbands for sure. We'll take care of that. We'll make sure that we keep up on the anniversaries. I know this one was kind of important to me because of the fact that I've been, this is a year-long project that I've sort of put in, and the consideration actually for what I'm doing was something where I wanted to be sure that that I wanted to continue this, and so it's been interesting. It's been an interesting ride. I can tell you one thing, for those of you that don't understand, trying to pick a topic and especially trying to find one that's interesting that I can I'm looking for the word not enunciate, but that I can convey, I guess is the best way, convey, knowledge and understanding. That's tough. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that's tough. So, when I bring you something that falls flat on its face, it's because I'm trying. Okay. But at the same time though, I mean, some of the better ones that I know that a lot of people have seen, you're right. They, like I said, they've bounced off of you and that kind of stuff. So, we might have to work it, but like I said, I'm really excited to bring it.
I wholeheartedly believe that the most successful, podcasts are when two people are on screen talking to each other.
Okay. So you consider, well, I guess this would be considered a podcast.
Vlog, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I don't even know if it's really a vlog. I mean, what the hell would you even call this? This is more of one man's foray into the unknown and floundering across the stratosphere.
A man picking his own mind. I don't know.
Better picking my mind than picking my nose.
Or your butt. You can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose. Like,
What are you talking about? I've successfully been able to do it.
Wasn't me, thank God.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. That was just came out of nowhere. Okay. On to picking noses. You know, the best way to do it is the hook technique. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, can't forget that. Oh, we're up to 6 now.
I
Okay.
believe so.
6. And I've done it. I've done most of them to myself. So, yeah. Okay. Ooh. Down to the last drop.
So, are there any topics that you thought of doing that you didn't do that you wish you did?
You know, that's an interesting question because there were a lot of them that I would think about, and I would immediately go, you know what? I really don't want to do that because I'm kind of being a fledgling program like this. It's one of those things where I'm kind of want to be careful with what I say and what I do. It's sort of like being in a crowded room with people and you're just not quite sure how something is going to come out. So you're better just to keep your mouth shut and not say anything
You've
at all.
had a couple episodes where I go, oh God, why did you do that? No.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, there've been a couple. I know there've been a couple, but you know, I mean, realistically, the whole purpose of this program was again to kind of bring the thought of, oh, podcast keywords better on YouTube, according to Addie. Okay. Actually, you know what? She's got a lot. She's had a lot of good advice, and I'm certainly not going to pass by anything when it comes to.
You really need to work on your promotion better.
Yeah, that's
more hashtags, more stuff, but it's all stuff you have to learn.
This is true. It's all stuff I have to learn. But I'm trying. But to get back to the topic at hand, as far as like some of the podcast, I'm gonna be honest with you. There were some weeks where I had like 2 or 3 topics, and I was trying to pick one out of the 2 or 3, and yeah, some of them fell flat. Some of them were pretty bad, but there's others that I know that were important enough to me that I wanted to get them out. So because, I mean, I'm not really too sure where I want to take this per se, but it's definitely something that I do want to try and be entertaining, obviously, because that equates to more subscribers. But as far as, you know, doing the topics, some of the topics, I agree. Some of the things that I think of, I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work. And I toss it out the door. I do know I need to get better in terms of organization. Got to get better in terms of organization. I was hoping to be able to do some of that more throughout time, but it's really hard considering, you know, what this is and how it's more of like a side project than like my main go-to. So that's kind of difficult. But I do want to try and get a little more ahead of what's going on, because oftentimes there's times where I'm just thinking of a topic and it's like Wednesday. Then I go live on Saturday. It's just tough. I think in a way, I think it's a lot easier when you have like a main subject matter, like, you know, Addie has her, you know, talking trials, and so having that as a possibility, you know, for a generalized subject, it makes it a little bit easier to come up with subject matter in the long run. But I'm just not too sure as far as the show itself, without supporters and without people giving me any feedback, I don't really know for sure where to necessarily go. And for the longest time, this has been a one-man show. So I'm producer, I'm audio guy, I'm video guy, I'm star. Huh?
Sound effects guy?
Yeah, sound effects guy. I'm doing all of this as a one-man band, and I'm not complaining. I mean, that was the whole purpose of it, was to try and do it all as a one-man band. But I do see where a lot of larger production outlets, why they have so many different people, because it's difficult to focus on any one given thing. And especially when you're the host, it's sometimes you have a hard time and you're trying to run all this yourself. You got to look at the buttons, you got to figure out everything. So,
okay.
But
so let's follow this rabbit hole.
Okay.
Best case scenario. You continue doing this. You find the right topics to talk about. You build a nice following. You get up to 100,000 subscribers. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You're getting hundreds of views live and many after the fact. Would you retire from your regular job and do this?
Hopefully my boss isn't listening.
No, I love my job. I will never quit my job.
It's funny, and I'm sorry, but this is true. This really has to be true, because you can't sit here and say that you're going. I mean, I have the utmost admiration for all of those people who are able to go through their jobs and be at their job for 40, 50 plus years doing the same thing every single day. I have the utmost respect and admiration for those types of people. Unfortunately, my mind doesn't quite work that way. And when I get to a certain point in time, it's difficult for me to stay on task. I tend to have to, my mind whirls quickly and it has to change. And I have to be really, really interested. So I have to admit, like this particular project, being able to go and learn about the audio and learn about things like green screens and videoing and doing all of this stuff has actually engaged my mind in a way that it needed. And so
it's a new stimulus.
Yeah, absolutely.
At some point you'll get blasé about it because you're doing it all the time and it'll be nothing again.
Well, maybe. I mean, I don't know. It depends on what the topics are. It really depends on the audience interaction. Because, to be frank about it, I never really thought about that. It was more of a thing where I was just kind of doing this for, one of my favorite movies. Okay. So sidebar real quick to sort of show you where I'm going at. This isn't the train horn option though. But one of my favorite movies was the Christian Slater flick, Pump Up the Volume. And there was him doing the radio show, the pirate radio show, sort of kind of made me think about getting involved in radio itself. And then of course, having a guy that was in radio and then him telling me, oh yeah, you've got a great radio voice, and start sparking me to try and think about that. Circumstances didn't permit it at the time. So there are things that I'm working on right now to try and kickstart that thing. And I guess in some ways, speaking of anniversaries, when you're doing the same thing for many, many years, at least from my perspective, and you obviously have your perspective and your shot too, because you've been an electrician for a really long time. But one of the things that I've found is that, call it a midlife crisis, call it whatever you want. It's at some point you start to realize that, oh my gosh, is this something that I really want to do for another, 20, 30 years? So you have to kind of sit back and think about it, because I'll be honest with you, I don't think Social Security is going to be around long enough to keep us around. Okay. All right. Anyway. Okay. So I got my political jab in. Anyway,
Well, and for me, I'm out in the field, crawling in attics and under houses and wherever, and I'm not in shape other than round.
hey,
I
rounds of
can't
shape.
I can't do that for much longer. My body's going to give out. I need to be in an office or maybe do this for the rest of my life. I have no idea.
Well, see, and I'll be completely honest. I mean, doing something like this, sorry, I had to refill. Doing something like this is actually pretty amazing. When you talk to my kids, especially my son, he's like, "Oh my gosh, if you had a YouTube channel and you guys did, got really popular, you can make all kinds of money."
Oh yeah.
And I'll admit, I never really thought about it that way. But there is a lot of stuff, and trust me, I've looked at a lot of YouTube channels, YouTubers, people who have suggested things. I've been trying to adopt some of that stuff. Gamers, as an example, gamers go through and they freaking, they're doing all of their thing, and I can't game. I got no game. In fact, I'm even worse than white men can't jump. White man can't shoot nothing. But but the point being, though, is that if this opportunity did come up, if I was able to find a way to make money doing this, I probably would definitely consider it. I can't say. I know that was a very long answer to your question, but I can't say I wouldn't necessarily pass it up. The big key there, obviously, is the responsibility, because I always believe responsibility trumps anything else. And so as long as my responsibility of taking care of my family was taken care of, then yeah, I could possibly see this. And I've actually considered expanding and doing this more than just one day a week. Unfortunately, timing and that kind of stuff tends to get in the way. But as fast as, and this is the other thing when it comes to topics, as fast as life is revolving, I mean, I hit like 3 or 4 different topics throughout the week. And by the time I come to a Saturday, it's like, oh my gosh, that's old news. I mean, that's like old. It's already been hashed through. Nobody's going to be interested about some Yahoo who is, in the freaking, whatever, and has what he does. And he's just blathering on about this thing that happened, 10, 15 days ago. People don't think about stuff like that. I know that everybody is like, it's got to be instantaneous and fast.
If that's what you want to do, I mean, there are political commentary shows on YouTube that you could do, because Ashton watches things on reality TV show commentary.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, you have to be careful what you say and how you say it. Don't forget, if you talk about somebody else and things they have done, you must say allegedly.
Oh yeah.
Or
No,
you
I
will
know.
be sued.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, well, half the time, I mean, okay, so I obviously, in terms of that type of scenario, let's just take this to like a criminal kind of a thing. I'm always of the type where, somebody is accused of something, but it hasn't been proven until they go through the trial, and then they're convicted. And at that point, then yeah, they were convicted of. Doesn't necessarily mean that they did it. Just means they were convicted of it, kind of idea. So I'm not really one to necessarily accuse somebody of something. I like to, even when it comes to stories that are coming out on like news media and stuff, I always like to wait for the facts first, not the first headline that pops out, because
that's the trap that the news agencies fall into.
and they're doing it.
We have to be first to say this thing, even though we don't know if it's true or not. But we're going to say it anyway.
Well, exactly. And they do it. And even now, it's like it happens so often, which is part of the reason why I almost think that even slowing down and like taking a breath before you go and explore something is not so bad of an idea, because again, everybody's quick to jump to do the first thing that comes out, and not so much, the actual truth, which
But you could do something like that, just 15, 20 minutes during the week. This happened today. I want to talk about it before it becomes old news.
Yeah.
And deal with it that way.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Huh. So that's an option. That's an option for moving forward as well.
There are many options. You just got to find out. Play around with it. If it doesn't work, don't continue with it. At least maybe give it a shot.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely something to consider for sure. And I know that there are controversial topics that are out there that a lot of people may or may not get involved in. But yeah, that's something for sure to keep an eye on. No presumption of innocence, Addie says. My favorite phrase. Sadly, our system seems to be slightly the opposite. Guilty until proven innocent. It's interesting that you bring that up. And actually, okay, so this is whoops. Ha, I got off. Hold on. Let me get back to I gotta have that on the main. There we go. So here we go. Number 7. It's funny that you bring that up because our system is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Okay. But, in the military, it's actually guilty until proven innocent. Believe it or not. Under the UCMJ, it's actually the opposite.
Because they did that in Star Trek.
You'd be surprised how much Star Trek actually pulled from like our conventional military.
I wouldn't be surprised. Because I think Roddenberry was in the Navy.
He could have been. I don't know.
I don't know that for sure.
Well, I just know that yeah, I mean, our system, and honestly, about our system of justice, the whole concept of it is they would rather have 10% of guilty people go free than one innocent go to jail. And so that's why it seems like it's leveled more for the criminal than it is the victim, but it's gotten worse over time. I mean, here we go, political commentary or whatever, but that's gotten really bad in a lot of cases. So, what does she say here? Chatters in the current trial that is going on, the majority of them are biased against the victim. Okay, I don't want to steal your Talking Trials thunder here, Addie, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. Unfortunately, I think that is a representation of the way that the news media framed it right off the bat. Because again, there's and I don't want to go too deep into this, but there are other statistics that are showing that what the news media and some certain groups, political ideological groups, are trying to frame, it doesn't exist statistic wise. So
what do you mean by that? I don't follow.
Well, there are some studies and some statistics that have been done over the course of the last several years that certain, shall we say, certain political leanings are blaming a certain system in America that you're enjoying this only because I'm squirming trying to get out of it. Okay.
Great.
So,
some more, please.
but a certain system that is framed as being a systemic problem within our culture is actually not as systemically shown as what the mainstream media wants to present. Now, on an individual basis, probably.
Bad apples spoil the whole batch, right?
Well,
that's what you're trying to get at.
Something like that. But the thing about it is that, in particular, like this particular case that she's referencing, we won't say any names, but this particular case that she's referencing, I personally haven't seen any proof that it was specifically a intended result from the one individual who is being charged with the crime for a specific reason. Okay. Was it
And
tragic?
we never
Absolutely.
know that for 100%
Huh?
fact. Everybody's going to put their own spin on it. You know, white guy, black guy did it, right?
Okay, well,
So
since you've breached it, yes, exactly, and
everyone
that's
knows what you're talking about.
well, yeah, but that's the point that I'm trying to make though is that again the whole spin was it was a white cop killed a African American male. Okay, well there's been other cases and other instances, and granted you can argue anything that you want, but there have been other cases and other instances where it's been totally reverse. And so, again, was it bad? It was a bad incident. Yes, it was bad. Has it overtly come out? Has anything been able to prove, and this is where the trial is really important, but has anybody been able to prove 100% that this was any kind of a overtly, yeah, you know what? Two to you, Addie. There we go. Okay, because she just said she derailed the whole show. But honestly, I mean, in terms of that particular viewpoint, everybody was so quick to jump because of the color of a person's skin, and it had nothing. Most of the conversation had nothing to do with any of the surrounding circumstances that may or may not have contributed to the particular piece of or the particular outcome. So everybody was so quick to automatically just immediately it was a racist act. It was a white cop against a black perp,
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I hate that because it's like until you can actually see evidence or until there is proof that they actually did this for that reason, you can't call it that. I'm sorry. You just can't. So, to sit there and say that it's anything different than what it is, a police officer did something, a man died because of it, and now we're trying to find blame. That's literally what this whole thing is supposed to be about.
Yeah, it's hard to prove motive or intent. You can speculate all you want, but you don't really know. But I haven't really been following it that closely.
And I haven't
I don't
either.
know
I mean,
what Patty shares with me, and I go,
yeah, well,
But from where I stand, it was almost indifference on the policeman's part for what he was doing. He really didn't care what he was doing. Is my take on it.
okay. And that's entirely possible. I mean, if that comes out of the trial, and I'm not the one looking at all the evidence like you. I'm not really following it 100%. I'm trying to follow it just because of the interest in the situation. But at the same time, if that comes out and it ends, the trial ends with him being convicted or being guilty, then so be it. That's what it is. But
And the problem is people take this one incident and expand it to every cop everywhere. Okay, so for every one questionable cop, there are 50 really good cops. Because you're always seeing these videos of policemen handing out toys and candy and actually helping people.
well, most police officers, most of the ones that I know, the reason why they got into law enforcement had nothing to do with the paycheck, because believe me, the paycheck isn't that great. But beyond that, the reason why they got in is because they wanted to help people. And like any customer service scenario, because that's literally what police officers are, is they are customer service personnel. Literally anybody who gets into that will have their bad days and will encounter people who are in their bad days. But at the same time, that wasn't the reasons why they got into it. It's no different than anybody else who got into a career for reasons in the beginning versus what they actually do now. Now, all of that being said, you're right. There are bad apples. There are always bad apples. You know that. There's bad electricians. There's people who just float and want to get by just to get the paycheck. There's bad engineers. There's bad truck drivers. There's always people who are disgruntled or bad. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the entire police force, in this particular instance, the entire police force is that way. And again, I go back to the whole concept. Everybody, for some damn reason, and I really don't understand why, but for some damn reason, we have now moved to a situation where we are, the news media in particular, and the general public following along with that, are jumping immediately to race. And even just in this last couple of weeks, we've had a couple episodes where somebody was originally assumed to be Caucasian and they found out that they were not. And now all of a sudden the story is like completely gone because it doesn't fit whatever political agenda is out there. And that's the criticality that I think is really lost in terms of the news media. Report the facts, report the news, go ahead. But don't sit here and just squash one story because, the facts didn't fit the narrative. It's still a tragic incident. Regardless of who did what, it's still tragic. It's still going to sell you papers or whatever, our, news time. But let's, I hate to do this, but I mean, literally just drop the whole idea of race itself. A person did a bad thing. A person did a good thing, whatever. Just drop it. Why the focus? Anyway,
That's a whole thing in itself.
oh, I know that's a whole. I did an episode on that sort of, but anyway, it just frustrates me again that our news media in particular, and we're going to pick on them, I guess, right now, but our news media in particular, they jump to the conclusion because again they got to be first, and Denzel Washington actually made a good comment to a news media person. I've got it somewhere. I'd have to find it again, but he, paraphrasing what he said on the red carpet, is they were, because he was just the victim of a gossip, I guess you could say. And he literally said, he's like, if you read the newspaper, wait a minute, let me phrase, hold on. Got to back up. If you don't read the newspaper, you are uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you are misinformed. And the person was like, well, wait a minute. What do you mean by that? And he's pretty much said, he's like, you guys have the responsibility of doing the job and getting the story correct and true and factual. He's like, if you don't read the paper, you have no information. But if you read the paper, everybody's so quick to get the story out first that there's no fact checking. There's none of that other stuff. And I'm sorry, but a retraction written in small print at the bottom of the article 2 days later is not calling attention to your mistake.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Own that sucker. Put it on the front page. We were wrong. I will have more respect for somebody who goes and says that, hey, I got it wrong. Here's the true facts, especially in that kind of scenario. I'm going to be more inclined to listen and talk to that person because at least from the standpoint, if they were incorrect, they fixed their problem. They've fixed what they were saying before. They have now gotten the facts and they have corrected it. I'd be more inclined to do it that way, but they don't. They put these little itty bitty, print down at the bottom. Oh, by the way, we were incorrect in this. And, now the article has been updated to reflect whatever. It's like, seriously? Anyway. Okay. I'm off my soapbox. Thanks for that.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you. That's kind of where this thing started. This whole thing started in my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so tired of things, of incorrect stuff. I'm so tired of this, and I'm tired of being silent. And it's time for people to start standing up and speaking their minds and in getting it out there. And it's especially over the events over the course of this last year. I mean, you look at stuff now. I mean, oh my gosh, anybody even questions or makes a statement as to what somebody physically said. We have video, we have evidence of what they said specifically, and they're being fact checked by these people and saying, well, that's not exactly what they meant. No, that's what they said. Not what they meant. That's what they said. And I get frustrated with it. And so, yeah, this is kind of, I guess you could sort of say this is sort of like my soapbox in a way. I didn't want it to be that, but that's kind of where the idea started, was to kick this off and have it be a mouthpiece for, you know, my inner workings, my mind. Scary thought. But anyway, am I correct in everything? No. Did you hear that? Anyway.
Ass.
Wow. Okay. Anniversaries. Speaking of anniversaries, I mean, the New York Post and the New York Times, the two oldest newspapers in the entire country. And you look at the two of them, they are diametrically opposed in their viewpoints, I guess. And we've talked about it. We've talked about cancel culture too. I mean, we've talked about that, and I don't agree with it. But then you've got, well, I mean, I'm already off. Might as well. Hey, here we go. All right. God, why is this thing? Oh, I know why. It's because I keep moving. I move the cursor and it goes off, and then it goes to something else. Anyway, sorry. There we go. All right. So yeah. So as far as that's concerned, I mean, you got things like the Georgia voter ID law. Okay. Let me ask you this. Can you think of anything that you do that if it requires an ID and you're asked for it, that you don't produce one?
No.
That you literally, you tell them, no.
No, I have a driver's license.
Yep.
You get pulled over by a cop, you gotta show it.
Yep.
Because I'm not a sovereign citizen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what those are, right?
Okay.
Do you?
Sovereign citizen?
Yeah.
Well, okay. How about you explain it to me in your context?
They don't basically agree with the general rules of law that, oh Lord, I will butcher it to death in my version of it.
Well, that's okay. Butchering's better than nothing.
Okay, I can explain some portions of what they believe, because my brother happens to be a sovereign citizen up in Alaska. He does not have a driver's license because, according to him, a driver's license is required for people who earn money driving on the road. So basically, truck drivers.
Okay.
It's all in how the verbiage is in the laws, and they try and bend those words. Because I watched some things with Addie, and occasionally they have sovereign citizens in the courtrooms.
Right.
And it's hysterical. The judges are just losing their minds. Are you addressing the person, the individual, or the whatever? It's like, dude, we're all those things. Come on. You're trying to bend rules to get out of crap.
Okay. I mean, all right. I can kind of understand. Okay. I get that. All right. That makes sense, I guess. All right. So sovereign citizens, basically, they are citizens, but they are, some of the best courtroom footage is of sovereign citizens, yeah. She says. Of course, I won't call out the mistake, but anyway, so sovereign citizens, yeah. So I mean, let's face it. There's a whole long list, and you can run around with memes about. You can run around with memes about how many things we do that require ID. And the part that bugs the crap out of me, and actually this is one of those ones that you were asking me about that you think that did a topic that I was supposed to do that I didn't do. Here's one of them. What I can't understand is a certain segment of society, and I won't name any names. They usually live around universities and colleges, but they they tend to think that they do more of what's called a soft bigotry, okay, to where they believe that a certain segment of society requires help in order to be able to do things that would normally be, you know, done by just about every average citizen that I can think of. And, you know, one of them happens to be going to get an ID. And you see these you see these people going out on the street and they ask questions all the time. They're asking certain people, they're like, hey, do you think, you know, voter ID is bad, as an example? Okay. Do you think voter ID is bad? And one person goes, well, yeah, it's voter ID is horrible because, you know, some segments of society, they don't even know how to get an ID. And then they go to that other segment of society and they ask them, hey, do you have an ID? And they're like, well, yeah, why would I not? I have to have ID in order to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like the part that really boggles my mind is the fact that there's a segment of society, there's a certain amount of people that actually believe the stuff that they're doing. And there's a term for it. It's called the soft bigotry of low expectations. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute, how? I mean, I know so many people, and everybody that I've ever run across, they all have some form of government issued identification. So how would you not be able to get that?
Yeah. I even have a federal ID because I have to go out and work on the airport. And so since it's governed by the FAA, which is a federal entity,
Right.
where I have a federal ID.
Well, I mean, we're all coming up onto the Real ID Act. They keep pushing it and pushing it, but we're all coming up to it to where you're going to need a federally mandated acceptable identification to be able to fly
Why
domestically.
not they track you? Well, yeah.
Well, I
And
mean,
your cell phone.
yeah, well, yeah, if you want to listen to that, go back to I think it's episode 45, okay? We were talking about the privacy, or maybe it's 45. Um but the privacy fallacy. But anyway, you know, yeah, that's I guess I'm just, again, kind of to bring this back into subject here. Part of the reason for this show was part of my frustration as to the and this is going to sound bad, but the literal dumbing down of society who believe that for some damn reason, based off of the color of your skin, you are either unable to function in our society today. I mean, there's people who have said that a certain segment of our society has problems with running a computer. I won't say who said that, but literally, I mean, it's like, what? Okay, I can understand somebody who's never seen a computer before not knowing how to run one, and I can understand somebody who has not actually dealt with computers on a regular basis not knowing how to run one, but to infer that just because they are poor or, you know, live in rural areas or something along those lines, to infer that they haven't even seen a computer is that's it's astronomically stupid in my mind, especially here in America. Now, if you were to go someplace where it's like literally a third world country, then yeah, I could see it where they may not know what a computer looks like. But here in America, come on. We're a first world country, one of the most economically viable countries that's out there. We have technological advancements every single day. Television, for an example, was a big boon. I can't think of anybody that doesn't have a TV. So if you have a TV, you've seen a computer before. I'm sorry. You may not have actually physically operated one, maybe. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that they're everywhere. You have to, if you go to McDonald's, you have to use one in order to order now in some cases because of the freaking kiosks. So it's not like
I've
you,
installed those.
huh?
I've installed those.
Well, yeah. So I'm frustrated and again, this kind of goes back to why I started the show a year ago. I'm frustrated with the idea that these people are walking around. There are people who are walking around who actually believe this stuff. And I'm going, what? Where in the hell were you born?
Yeah.
So,
Or there's the anti-vaxxers, or there's a whole list of people that believe stupid things. Flat earthers.
okay. Well, the anti-vaxxers I can understand in certain cases. Okay, because there are some dangers with vaccines that have.
If you say autism, I'm going to come over there and punch you.
No, I'm not. I'm not. But there are certain dangers, and there are specific types that I could see where you would be a little nervous about, or maybe there is a certain health risk to you that maybe you don't want it. And that's part of the beauty, honestly, of America by itself, is the fact that you do have those choices. In terms of flat earthers,
people don't want to live with the consequences of those choices.
I'm sorry, say that again. I think I stepped on you.
Some people don't want to live with the consequences of those choices.
Well,
they don't want to vaccinate their kids, but they still want to go to public school. Well, sorry, one of the rules for going to public school is to be vaccinated. So if you're not vaccinated, you can't go to public school. You must now educate your own child.
And
that's the consequences of your choice.
And you know what? To be honest with you, that is perfectly fine with me.
Yeah.
That is a you.
That's what you believe. Do it.
Hey,
but then do it.
You made your choice.
Yeah.
You are free to choose. This is something that I posted on Facebook on my own personal account. You are free to choose, but you are not free from the consequences of that choice. And that is very, very true. That's exactly what you said. So, you know, I'm right there with you. I mean, if you don't want to get vaccinated for the normal stuff, sure. But you have to understand that there's going to be a consequence for that. Now, one thing that I do have a problem with, though, is in terms of this particular situation that we're in right now, is this whole idea of forcing people to get the vaccination for something that may not affect everyone the same way. And my biggest problem, honestly, with the vaccine is not so much whether or not somebody wants to take it. My mom got vaccinated, and she is in one of those risk groups where she has a potential where she has got a higher risk. Absolutely go for it. But to force a child who has been medically proven over and over and over again that they are not necessarily carriers of the virus, nor are they very susceptible to it, and they have the highest survivability rate for this particular virus, to force somebody to inoculate their child when they don't want to, especially considering one of the side effects on some of the vaccines is infertility, and not having a legal recourse to go after the company. Yeah, I got a problem with that. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, it has to deal with the COVID vaccine, to be honest with you. There's a couple versions of the COVID vaccines where one of the side effects is making children infertile, which is part of the reason why they are not forcing kids under the age of 16 to take it.
Okay.
Yet.
I'm looking at that one.
But then you have the vaccination passport. Like, oh, if you don't have the vaccine, you can't go back to normal life. Why? Because if somebody's vaccinated, shouldn't that take care of it? Which kind of goes to your anti-vaxxer idea. If the rest of the school is vaccinated, then why wouldn't they have, they would be more susceptible than any of the vaccine kids? It's an interesting question, but I mean, it's a law. So you either follow it or you don't. You got to live with the consequences. And I guess speaking about it, in a way, the vaccine passport, you got to live with the consequences. If you don't get the vaccine, then you don't get the passport and you don't get to rejoin normal life. It's kind of an interesting conundrum.
Yeah. I've not heard any of this stuff.
Really? Okay. Well, should take a look at it. Just kind of see. And then there's also potential issues with the vaccines where I've seen reports, and I'm not saying they're true. Okay, so don't take anything that I'm necessarily telling you as true until you go and look it up for yourself. I've always said that. I will constantly say that. Sometimes my sources are going to be, not infallible. But the key here, though, is that if you're going to do something or make a decision, make an informed decision. Like I've always told I've always told my kids this. I don't care what stance you take, but make sure you can back that stance up with facts and evidence. If you can't do that, you're like treading water for no reason. I mean, you're not going to float. Let's put it that way. But you got to have facts and evidence. And if you can't do that with facts and evidence, then you've got a problem. So, but I would look into it, at least some of it. I mean, that's, and again, me personally, I have issues with the way that they're going about it. If you go and get vaccinated and that's your choice, go for it. Go and get vaccinated. That is entirely up to you. That's perfect. At the same time, in terms of the COVID vaccine, at the same time, you need to understand that from my perspective, that vaccine was pushed way too quickly. We don't know what its effects are. There haven't been enough trials. It's not FDA approved, regardless of what they tell you. It's not FDA approved yet. It is emergency powers FDA pushed through, but not fully 100% FDA approved on any of them. And there are side effects where and in order to do that emergency powers, one of the things that the corporations asked for was, hey, well, we can't be responsible if something goes bad. And the government said, yeah, that sounds good. So you have no legal recourse to go after the organization if something happens down the road. You've got no legal recourse whatsoever. So I have kind of an issue with that. But again, that's me. But anyway.
I got nothing for that. Sorry.
Huh?
I got nothing for that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But again, I get frustrated. I get frustrated a lot of times with the state of the world and the way things are being pushed. I mean, I got to be honest with you, something like critical race theory, I'm still looking into it. I haven't made a full decision on it yet. I think that anything that doesn't teach true American history, though, as an example, is a bit questionable at best. I'm not saying that we're perfect.
Okay. Another rabbit hole.
Okay.
What is true American history?
So true American history has to take a look at both sides of the events. And I'm not talking about, I'm not necessarily saying things like slavery. Slavery was bad. Okay. Flat out. Slavery is bad. All right. It's not something I support. In fact, my family didn't come over here until after slavery was already abolished. So having said that, let me ask you this. How do you feel knowing that your family wasn't even here? You've never owned slaves. Your family's never owned slaves. How do you feel about you being a American, having to put up money and reparations for individuals that you and your family have had no effect on?
Well, reparations isn't a thing, right?
Not yet.
They've been talking about it for years.
They're talking about it.
It'll never happen. It's been too long ago.
Well, but see, that's
what would it solve?
Exactly. To me, it's more of an enablement. I mean, it's an idea to get people onto your side, okay? But until you can prove that my family has fault with whatever happened, back in the day, I mean, an argument, maybe a very thin one, could be made about it, but it's too difficult to sit here and say that anyone, and especially today, in today's day and age, we're talking about 2021 here, people. Slavery was in America was outlawed after the Civil War, or actually right before it, but still after the Civil War, it was outlawed. And it was completely, you know, I mean, nobody's owned slaves in centuries. Why would you want to try and make the American people of today do reparations for somebody who you would have to even prove that person was descendant of a slave? Now, okay, you can make that argument. You can make the argument that most of the people that are over here are descendants of slaves. Okay, fine. But so were the Irish. The Irish got picked up as slaves. You know, the Chinese have been treated horribly in the West. So, you know, where does it stop? Why would you even try to open up that Pandora's box, and where does it stop? Where do you draw the line to say enough's enough? And that's something that's going on in today's society. I actually was thinking about doing that topic too, was bringing that up. But that's, I mean...
If you do that topic, you need someone on the opposite side to counter that.
Oh, no, I completely agree.
To be a white guy talking about issues of slavery sounds bad.
Yes, absolutely, it does. It does sound bad. But here's another thing, though. It's just as bad to sit here and say that all white guys are to blame for your lot in life. Like, really? Wait a minute. You're in the most free country, arguably, on this planet, and you're going to blame a class of citizens wholly, again, without like evidence, and you're just going to say, well, it's their fault, even though they may or may not have had anything to do with you. In fact, they might even not live in your own city. It's like, I'm confused. Somebody's got to explain this to me, because I'm completely lost as to the concept, as to how this is a problem. Because again, it goes back to that whole thing. Your choices.
That's why we need another representative here to discuss that, because neither of us has firsthand knowledge of any of that. And so it's speculation and supposition on our part to even comment on that stuff.
Well, yeah, I agree. But I would be remiss to even say that anybody could even be found that could definitively prove that. I think it'd be tough. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I am saying that the predominance of the people that are claiming this, they can't prove it. And if questioned on it, they won't be able to prove it.
I don't think either side can prove it either way. They can't prove that it is. You can't prove that it isn't.
Well, exactly. So if that's the case, then why even have the argument? If you can't prove it one way or the other, why even have the argument?
Try and better society. That's why we have to talk about these things. That's why racism has to be talked about. If you don't talk about it, it won't go away, because I tend to lean towards that side where, yes, some of it is ingrained into the system to target. Not maybe to the degree that they say it is, but to some degree.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Knowing that the predominance of individuals who do terrorist attacks across the globe come from a certain segment of society, would it not be prudent to at least be suspicious of that same segment of society? It doesn't matter what it is, but that same segment of society across the board until proven otherwise.
Yeah, that's the slippery slope. I mean, fine. It's okay to target them because they like to wear bomb vests. But not all of them. It's a very small percentage of that group. But still, it's within that group. I understand that.
Okay. So
God, this is hard to do, man.
it is difficult, but it's something to ask the question. I mean, seriously, having, Well, let's take the Oklahoma City bombing for an example. Okay, it was a white guy, Timothy McVeigh. He's convicted of it, so I can go ahead and say it. He went and loaded up a box van full of fertilizer and whatever else and made this big, huge bomb and lit it off in front of the federal building in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Okay. So knowing if that were the only case that you had to go off of for, never mind any of these other stuff, but if that were the only case, then I would think it would be prudent to be suspicious of certain people who fall within categories of that situation, whatever that was. In his case, it was a young male who was white, 20s to 30s roughly, and he had a certain, I think if I remember right, he had certain ties to certain groups. Okay. Knowing that, I don't necessarily think it's wrong to be suspicious of an individual like that. But at the same time, though, you can't step forward and say that all of them are that way, because that's exactly what's happening here with the police force, as an example. But I don't think it's wrong to necessarily be suspicious. I mean, because it happens. You could go back in time and you could look at certain things and say let's just randomly pull something out of the air. All plane hijackers
But
are.
I think part of the problem is then it gets way too generalized.
Okay.
Just because Muslims, people in the Middle East, have a reputation of having a small minority of those people be fanatics and carry out these heinous acts, you shouldn't go around assuming that everyone of brown skin is a terrorist. That's the issue. They're targeting everyone who looks like that and singling them out without any further evidence.
And honestly, this is where the problem came into play for the Vietnam War, as an example. So one of the biggest challenges that our soldiers had in the Vietnam conflict, and actually even more recently over in Pakistan and in the Middle East, was the fact that you could not determine friend or foe because there wasn't any definitive factor that would show either one. And it's a conundrum. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. It is a complete conundrum. And it's one that not anybody is really going to be able to solve, because for every 10 that you let go, there's possibly that one who's going to be the person that you really don't want to let go. So you have a choice. You can either criticize all of them or put them under scrutiny, or and say, okay, our tolerance policy is like 0 for this, or we go and we say, well, a few of them getting out, which goes to this goes back to the whole innocence guilty thing, but a few of them get out and a few of them go by and we lose a few when that happens. What do you do? I don't think it's something that we're going to be able to solve tonight, but
nuke the whole world, start over.
That is an interesting proposition.
Have you seen there's a show on Netflix or Hulu called I Am Mother?
I think I've seen it advertised, but I haven't actually
it's where the AI takes over,
okay,
kills all humanity, and then restarts humanity.
Well, that was the whole concept of the Matrix. The machines figured it out and said, oh, well, we'll just take care of them because they're the scourge of society. Terminator 2, come to think about it. That was Terminator's premise as well, was that humanity in and of itself was self-destructive.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I mean, and we are, in a way, we are definitely self-destructive.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's why I'm rooting for Star Trek. Where we've gotten past all those issues, which if you actually watch the show carefully, they haven't.
no, they haven't. They really
There's still
haven't.
racism and prejudice, even
Yeah.
in Star Trek. Oh my god.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And it's basically because of the inherent nature of the human psyche, I think.
But
Or
as long as we collectively strive to make things better, if we don't agree on how to get there, hopefully somehow we will get there.
yes, that would be the idea. But I think overall, blaming any one given group without really understanding that group is a bit of a problem. But at the same time, I at least understand being suspicious necessarily of that group. I mean, you could carry it even beyond just like the whole concept of race. There's, you have stereotypes everywhere. You have people that look like, they're, well, back in our day, punk rockers and stuff. Somebody just looks like they don't fit in. A high school is like this. High school is horrible about that. If you don't fit into the group, or at least somebody's group, you're an outcast. I mean, that is a great study for human interactions in high school, because the kids don't have the filter that the adults do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know where we would go with that, but holy crap. Okay. That deserves 2. All right. Anyway, um, well, that is the premise of the show for sure. Is some of these topics, and I definitely have to say that these are things that I have thought about. And you're right. I mean, my skin necessarily, my skin color, or my lot in life that I've chosen doesn't necessarily give me the opportunity to speak intelligently on somebody else's experience. But again, that's kind of the point. I don't have the same experience as somebody else does. Therefore, they shouldn't be judging me for that experience, for whatever experience in my life, and I shouldn't necessarily be judging them. We're all supposed to get along, because eventually all of us end up in the same place. Ideally.
In the dirt. Yeah.
Yep. Well, me personally, I'm going to be cremated. Then I'll go to the dirt.
Why waste the land?
Well, I just can't see going through and planting myself in a box and being embalmed and then planting myself in some $1,000 box or whatever. Shoot. I'm not here. I'm gone, because I actually believe the soul leaves the body and goes elsewhere. So there you go.
Sorry, Klingons.
Oh,
It is an empty shell. Do with it as you wish.
oh yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then of course they do their little, thing, and they right before, after the person dies, they all sit there and they yell or whatever. Got to admit, some of those people. I mean, between George Lucas and like Gene Roddenberry, and I mean, some of these people, man, they've got overactive imaginations for sure.
But they were limited in their thinking because everybody has 2 legs. Farscape. That's the show. You know Farscape?
Okay, Farscape.
10?
So let's go. What's Farscape?
Oh my god, you know Farscape?
No.
You're not really a sci-fi fan, are you?
Let's put it this way. My responsibilities and time has like narrowed down to where I am literally either doing my job and occasionally doing this. So anyway.
No, Farscape was in the Lord 90s, late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the premise? Come on. You got to give us the plot.
Okay, guy gets shot to another part of the galaxy, or even a whole different galaxy, and comes across this ship of aliens.
Right.
Of course, the whole production was in conjunction with Jim Henson. So the creatures were just phenomenal.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Not just bipedal people. They had all different multi-limbed things.
Right.
Awesome. Anyway, goes over and he's trying to get his way back, and he's obsessed with wormholes, trying to get back home. And it's a really good 5-year arc.
Did it actually go 5 years? 5 seasons?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were canceled right before the end. This would be 6 seasons.
Okay.
Due to lack of viewership or whatever. But they did a movie to finish the whole series.
Ah, okay.
So they filmed in Australia. So,
Same
anyway.
place that Mad Max was.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic. Gasoline is the biggest money maker or whatever.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wonder what would happen if our system of government collapsed. I can tell you our dollar isn't backed on anything. I mean, it's just basically paper. Well, cotton.
A number in a computer.
I actually... Okay, here we go. Stepping off again. All right. Okay, so
10, 12.
I started looking up Bitcoin because everybody that is any kind of tech has been talking about this. And so I started looking up Bitcoin. That crap is expensive. Oh my gosh. To buy one single Bitcoin, you're talking 55,000+, I think, for that was last month. I cannot believe that. But it turns out, and this is the way it works, there is a finite number of Bitcoin, and it's all based on mathematics. And so this is where the whole Bitcoin mining comes into play, because you're solving mathematical equations in order to come up with the Bitcoin. Everybody who's in cryptocurrency is like, oh my gosh, you should have it because it's going to be the bank of the future. And I'm going, there's nothing tangible there. I mean, at least with gold and silver, you've got something tangible, and that's what our system of money used to be based off of, was the gold standard, until they decided to get rid of it. And then anyway, now we can print money however we want. But the point is that I'm sorry, as techie as I am, I cannot dive into the idea that these bits, coins, are going to be worth something to somebody someday. I mean, do you know if you lose the password to your Bitcoin wallet, it's gone forever? There's no way to recover it. And if you lose it, it's gone. Sorry, this is diving down Darknet Diaries, bro. He did an episode. Jack Rosider did an episode on Bitcoin, and he kind of explained some of this, but he also said that there was a guy that had something like, I don't know, $20 million value in Bitcoin on his wallet, and he forgot the password or something. And so he's walking around with this Bitcoin wallet, and he has no way to get into it.
Jeez.
I'm like, okay, why would you invest in something like that? I just can't see it. Well, coming up with a different currency, I could understand, especially given today's day and age, how the government's just printing money. I mean, we just did $1.9 trillion, and now we're looking at another $2 trillion for, I don't know, 10%. 10% of the bill is to actual infrastructure. The rest goes to other pet projects. Totally other subject. But I can understand why, you would look and you would say, okay, you want to come up with something better, something that's not controlled by the government. But even the world, like the world standard is based off the US dollar. So if we crash, oh my gosh, talk about the entire economy, the world economy going down.
All it's going to take is one well-placed EMP.
You know, there's days when I actually just sit here, just do it and get it over with.
Bring on Mad Max.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But anyway, on that note, wow, we've been
2 hours, man.
yeah, we're almost 2 hours. We're like 10 minutes away from 2 hours. But anyway, so this show honestly was just a smorgasbord of whatever else, and we have the train whistle now. So, you know, but talking about anniversaries, talking about you know, all of these things year long. We talked a little bit about time. I'm hoping that the next several episodes here coming up are going to be key. I'm really keying in on this one in particular. I think it's going to be awesome. It's really going to be great. It's actually, I'm going to be talking to a member of law enforcement about a trend that has been occurring over the course of the last several years, not just here in America, but internationally. And it is a disturbing trend. It is something that that I think that we all need to focus on and keep aware of. And it's something I've been thinking about doing for the course of the last probably 6 months or more. And I finally got brave enough to ask the guy to do an interview. So I'm going to be working on that here in the next couple of months. And, you know, as always, if you like the show, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Definitely hit that little bell so that you'll know when we go live. Or we upload new content, because I'm actually thinking of doing some other things as well with the channel. Doing more static content, not necessarily going live all the time, but having more static content in place. And maybe that is where, you know, Mr. Captain Unicorn kind of tossed in there, like doing a little 15-minute deal on whatever the daily thing has been about. But anyway. Anyway, huh? Oh, I thought you were saying something. Okay. So, that being said, I appreciate you coming and listening and watching the show. If you please fill out that survey, I appreciate that, because that'll at least give me an idea as to, what you liked, what you don't like, and so on and so forth. Would you recommend us to a friend, kind of thing. So anyway, that's going to put us at a wrap for the evening. I'm going to drop back to my main screen. So go ahead and give us some time to kind of think about what the next evolution of this is going to be. But I'm looking forward to the next year. I am going to continue. This is certainly not something that I'm just going to drop, because I enjoy it. I enjoy coming and talking to you folks. Not only just, to my co-host, but also to all of you. And I appreciate my subscribers. Like I said, hit subscribe. And we'll see you next time here on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Easter. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.